You didn't stumble onto this video by chance. Out of millions of distractions, out of endless noise, this one found you. And deep down, you already feel it. This is not random. Jung would tell you that the unconscious has ways of bringing to you exactly what you're ready to hear. The question is, are you ready to face it? Because this is not entertainment. This is not another distraction. This is a mirror, and once you look into it, you cannot unsee what it shows. You have lived your life playing roles. You wake up, put on the mask, go through the day, and collapse into bed wondering why it all feels so empty. You try harder, you give more, you smile wider, and yet the silence inside you grows louder. That silence is not weakness, it is a signal. It is your unconscious knocking on the door. It is the shadow calling your name. And here's the truth Jung revealed. Until you face the unconscious, it will rule you. Until you make it conscious, it will control your choices, your relationships, your desires, your failures. You will repeat the same stories again and again, calling them fate. But they are not fate. They are your shadow in disguise. Think about it. How many times have you sworn you'd never end up in the same toxic relationship, only to fall back into it again? How many times have you told yourself, this time will be different, but the ending was the same? How many times have you achieved something you thought would finally make you happy, only to feel the same emptiness return? This is not bad luck. This is not destiny. This is the unconscious at work. You've been trained to believe that your shadow is your enemy, that anger, envy, desire, fear, these parts of you must be denied, silenced, buried. From childhood, you were rewarded when you were good and punished when you were bad. And little by little, you learned to split yourself in two. The parts that got love, you showed. The parts that got rejection, you hid. But those hidden parts did not disappear. They became the shadow, and they still live inside you. The shadow is not just darkness, it is also your power. It contains the strength you buried, the creativity you rejected, the truth you silenced. And until you face it, you cannot be whole. Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Terrifying, because it means admitting what you've denied your entire life. Terrifying, because it means breaking the illusion you've built. Terrifying, because it means tearing off the mask and seeing your real face. And yet, this terror is freedom. Because when you accept your shadow, you stop being ruled by it. Your anger becomes clarity. Your envy becomes ambition. Your fear becomes intuition. Your desire becomes creativity. What once sabotaged you becomes fuel. But here is the problem. Most people never do this. They live and die behind masks. They spend decades pretending. They perform roles to gain approval, all while their true selves rot in silence. They dream with their eyes open, never once awakening. And that is why you feel empty. That is why your life feels repetitive. That is why you sense something missing, even when you have everything you thought you wanted. Because you are not living your life, you are living the dream of others. The unconscious will not let you escape this truth. It will haunt you. It will send you repeating lessons until you learn. It will make the same story reappear in different forms, over and over, until you turn inward. That is why you are here now. That is why this message reached you at this exact moment, because some part of you is ready to stop dreaming and start awakening. But awakening is not comfortable. It feels like collapse. It feels like betrayal. It feels like everything you've known falling apart. Because it is. When you face your shadow, the life you built on denial cracks. The people who loved your mask may not love your truth. The roles you played may no longer fit. The identity you clung to begins to dissolve. And yes, it feels like death. But Jung would tell you, it is not death, it is rebirth. It is the beginning of the self, the part of you that has been waiting to live. And this is why the unconscious brought you here. because you are standing at the edge of that death and rebirth. You are standing at the threshold of yourself, and you must decide, will you step forward or will you run back into the dream? Most people run. They choose comfort over truth. They choose masks over wholeness. They choose unconsciousness over freedom, and they suffer quietly until the end. But you are different because you are still here, still listening, still drawn to the words that terrify you, yet feel like home. So listen closely. In the next part, we will walk deeper into Jung's roadmap. We will see how the shadow, the persona, and individuation form the path to meaning. We will reveal why everything you fear in yourself is exactly what you need to become whole. And once you understand this, you will never see yourself or your life the same way again. You've felt the pull of the shadow already. That uncomfortable sense that the very things you deny about yourself are the same things that hold the key to your freedom. But awareness alone is not enough. To walk this path, you need a map. Jung gave us that map, and he called it individuation. Individuation is not a word you hear often. It sounds abstract, almost clinical. But in truth, it is the most urgent journey you will ever take. It is the process of becoming whole, not perfect, not pure, whole. And without it, you live and die in fragments. Individuation unfolds in 3 movements: shadow, persona, and self. Each one is terrifying, because each one strips away the lies you've lived by. But each one also liberates, because on the other side of collapse is truth. The first movement, the shadow. The shadow is the parts of you you've exiled. The anger you were told was dangerous. The envy you were told was shameful. The ambition you were told was arrogant. The desire you were told was sinful. Each time you said, "Yeah, that's not me," you buried a part of yourself, and now those parts live in the dark, pulling strings in silence. You see it in your patterns, that sudden rage you swear is not like you, that secret jealousy you never admit, that hunger that keeps returning no matter how much you repress it. That is the shadow breaking through, Jung warned. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The failed relationships, the repeated disappointments, the emptiness that returns again and again, these are not accidents. They are the shadow's fingerprints. But here's the paradox. The shadow is not only darkness. Inside, the rage is strength. Inside, the envy is ambition. Inside, the desire is creativity. What you've buried is not only what you fear, but what you need. To face the shadow is to stop pretending, to stand in front of the mirror and say, "Yes, this is me. I am not only light. I am not only good. I am also envy. I am also rage. I am also desire. And I will not deny it anymore." This is terrifying, but it is freedom, because once you admit it, you can channel it. Rage becomes boundary. Envy becomes drive. Desire becomes creation. What sabotaged you becomes fuel. But the shadow is only the beginning, because once you face it, you meet the second obstacle, the persona. The persona is the mask you wear for the world, the professional, the polite one, the reliable one, the good one. Society requires it. Without the mask, we cannot function. But Jung warned of the danger. When you forget the mask is not your face, you die inside. Think of your own life. How many times have you smiled when you wanted to scream? How many times have you said yes when your soul was begging you to say no? How many times have you been praised for being so good while inside you felt invisible? That was not love. That was the mask being rewarded, and every time you lived for the mask, your true self faded. Awakening means breaking this illusion. It means saying, "This role is not my essence. This performance is not my soul." You can wear the mask strategically, but you never confuse it with who you are. And yes, this has a cost. Some people will leave when you stop performing. They never loved you, they loved the mask. But this loss is liberation, because those who remain will be the ones who see you, not the performance. Then comes the third movement, individuation. This is the birth of the self. The moment you stop living as fragments and unite shadow and persona into wholeness, the moment you stop chasing perfection and embrace complexity, the moment you step into authenticity, even if it costs you approval. Jung called individuation the privilege of a lifetime, but he also warned most people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their soul. That is why individuation is rare, because it is not comfortable. It feels like collapse. It feels like death, but it is death of the false, so that the true can live. And here is where meaning emerges, because purpose is not found outside you. It is not in the next job, the next partner, the next achievement. It is inside, buried in the shadow you've avoided. Your envy reveals what you desire. Your rage reveals what boundary you must defend. Your sadness reveals what you truly value. Purpose is not handed to you. It is revealed when you integrate what you've denied. This is why Jung said, "Where your fear is, there is your task." The very place you resist is the place where your purpose hides. Think of the artist who buried creativity because it wasn't practical. They lived frustrated until they finally faced it, and their art became their purpose. Or the leader who buried ambition because it was called arrogance. They lived resentful until they faced it, and their ambition became vision. What you bury is what you must integrate, and what you integrate becomes your destiny. But here is the cliffhanger. Individuation does not stop with you. Once you begin to live whole, the world responds differently. People will fear you, others will admire you, you will become magnetic, unforgettable. In the next block, we will explore this transformation in action. We will see how individuation changes relationships, power, and presence, and why wholeness makes you both rare and unshakable. Individuation does not announce itself with fireworks. There is no dramatic moment where the world claps for you and declares you whole. The shift is quieter, deeper, more dangerous. It begins within you, and only later does the world notice. At first, you don't even recognize it yourself. You simply feel different, less desperate, less fragile, less hungry for approval. The silence inside you, once unbearable, now feels steady, grounded, alive. Other people notice before you do. They feel it in your presence. You walk into a room and you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to fill silence with nervous chatter. You don't need to perform goodness to earn space. You sit, you breathe, you exist, and that is enough. This unsettles people. Some admire it, others fear it. Because when you are whole, you disrupt the games others play unconsciously. Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. When people meet you in your wholeness, they cannot remain unchanged. They will either rise toward authenticity or they will recoil. Take relationships. Before individuation, you gave endlessly, hoping to be loved. You forgave endlessly, hoping not to be abandoned. You agreed endlessly, hoping to keep peace. But individuation breaks this cycle. Now, you give, but not until you are empty. You forgive, but not endlessly. You love, but never at the cost of your own respect. You say no without collapsing into guilt. You say yes without betraying yourself. And the response is immediate. Some people vanish. They say, "You've changed." And they are right. You've stopped being their supply. Their manipulation no longer works. Their guilt no longer hooks you. Their drama no longer pulls you in. To them, your freedom feels like betrayal. Let them go. Their leaving is not loss. It is liberation. because others remain. In fact, they are drawn closer. These are the ones who see you, who breathe easier around you because you are not demanding approval, who feel stronger around you because your authenticity awakens theirs. These relationships, born in truth, become unshakable. Work shifts too. Before, you believed hard work alone would save you. That effort equaled recognition, that loyalty meant reward, but individuation teaches you something different. Competence matters, strategy matters, presence matters. Now, you wear the persona consciously. You can project professionalism when required, but you don't confuse it with identity. You perform the role, but you never forget the role is not your soul. And this balance changes everything. You can lead without being consumed by leadership. You can succeed without being devoured by success. You can adapt without losing yourself. This steadiness is rare, and people feel it. They respect you not because you demand it, but because you embody it. Inside, the deepest transformation is this: you no longer fear your own shadow. Before, you denied your anger, your envy, your desire. You buried them, but they leaked anyway, in resentment, in passive aggression, in secret shame. Now, you face them. You say, "Yes, I feel rage. Yes, I feel envy. Yes, I want power." And strangely, the moment you admit it, you are free. Rage becomes boundary. Envy becomes ambition. Desire becomes creativity. The shadow, integrated, becomes energy. You no longer sabotage yourself because you no longer fight yourself. This is why Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Enlightenment is not pretending to be pure, it is embracing your complexity. And here lies the paradox. The more whole you become, the more others fear you. Why? Because most people live divided. They cling to masks, deny their shadows, and project what they refuse to face. When they meet you, someone who has walked through their own abyss, they feel exposed. You become a mirror, and they cannot bear what they see. Some will call you arrogant, others will call you selfish. Some will whisper that you're dangerous. Do not take it personally. Their reaction is not about you. It is about the parts of themselves they cannot face. At the same time, you will attract. Your authenticity will act like gravity. Those who are ready for truth will be drawn to you. Those who are strong enough to face themselves will seek you out. You will not need to chase. You will not need to prove. You will become magnetic. This is individuation in action. You become unforgettable, not because you are perfect, but because you are whole. People may not always like you, but they will never forget you. And within yourself, something even greater emerges. Freedom. The freedom of not performing every moment. The freedom of not collapsing into every demand. The freedom of not needing to explain or justify who you are. The freedom of standing whole, even when misunderstood. But individuation is not the end. It is the beginning of a new kind of life. And now comes the most important question. How do you live this daily? How do you sustain wholeness in relationships, in work, in solitude? How do you turn individuation from insight into a way of being? In the next block, we will explore the final turn, the daily practices of freedom. We will uncover how Jung's wisdom translates into habits, boundaries, silence, and choices. And we will close with the reflection that makes you not only free, but unshakable. Freedom is not an idea. It is not a quote you share online or a sudden burst of motivation. Freedom is practice. It is how you live when no one is watching. It is the discipline of authenticity, carried in the smallest choices, repeated until they reshape your life. You now understand individuation, the union of shadow, persona, and self. But knowing is not enough. Jung never wanted psychology to stay as theory. He wanted it lived. Transformation only becomes real when it is embodied. So the question now is, how do you live individuated, day after day, in a world that prefers you asleep? It begins in relationships, because nothing exposes your unconscious like another human being. The closer the relationship, the stronger the mirror, that fight that spirals out of control, that sudden rage you can't explain, that deep shame triggered by a single word. These are not random. They are your shadow being reflected back at you. Most people project. They attack others for qualities they deny in themselves. They collapse into blame. But individuation demands awareness. When the storm rises, pause and ask, am I fighting them, or am I fighting myself in them? Am I reacting to this moment, or to my own shadow being mirrored? That question creates space, and in that space, freedom enters. Then comes the courage to act differently. Before, you said yes when you wanted to scream no. Now, you honor no as sacred. Before, you forgave endlessly, not out of love, but out of fear of abandonment. Now you forgive once, but you do not enable cycles of harm. Before, you shrank to earn love. Now you expand even if love leaves. This is not cruelty, it is truth. And relationships built on truth are the only ones that last. Next comes work. Here, the persona rules, the mask of competence, reliability, professionalism. You must wear it. Society demands it. But the difference now is that you wear it consciously. You know it is a mask, not your identity. Before, you confused the role with your essence. You lost yourself in performance, measuring your worth in titles, approval, and output. Now, you see clearly, the mask is a tool, not a prison. You can step into roles strategically, but you never forget who you are when the performance ends. This prevents collapse. It keeps you free. You can succeed without being swallowed by success. You can lead without being consumed by leadership. You can adapt without losing yourself. And then comes solitude. This is where individuation deepens. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Solitude is where you do this work. Pay attention to your dreams. They are not nonsense. They are the voice of your unconscious, speaking in images and symbols. Write them down, study them. They reveal the parts of yourself still hidden. Journal too, not for productivity, but for truth. Write the thoughts you'd never admit aloud. Write the envy, the rage, the hunger, the grief. Each page reclaims a piece of your shadow. Practice active imagination. Sit in silence and let your inner figures appear. Ask your fear what it wants. Ask your anger what it protects. Ask your desire what it reveals. Listen. It may feel strange, but this dialogue transforms. Because the moment you speak with your shadow, you stop being ruled by it. And above all, cultivate silence. Not just the absence of noise, but the refusal to react impulsively. The discipline of stillness. The ability to sit with discomfort without reaching for distraction. In silence, the unconscious surfaces. In silence, you reclaim yourself. These practices are not glamorous. They are not easy, but they are revolutionary. Because most people will never do them. They will keep running, they will keep performing, they will keep burying, and they will die dreaming. But you are different. You would not be here otherwise. And yes, this path has a cost. You will be misunderstood. Some will call you selfish. Some will call you arrogant. Some will resent your silence, your boundaries, your freedom. But remember, their reaction is about their shadow, not yours. At the same time, this path has a gift. You will attract the strong. You will inspire the ready. You will become magnetic without trying. You will embody gravity. This is individuation lived, feared by the unconscious, loved by the awake, unforgettable to all. And here is the ultimate paradox. In becoming whole, you do not become untouchable. You become deeply human. You embrace your flaws, your complexity, your contradictions. You stop pretending to be light alone. You accept the darkness too, and in that acceptance you find freedom. This is why Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That is the purpose of your life, not perfection, not applause, not masks. Wholeness. So now I leave you with a question, one you cannot avoid. Will you do it? Will you face your shadow? Will you remove the mask? Will you accept yourself completely, even the parts you swore were unlovable? Because if you do, everything changes. You will stop being fragile. You will stop being replaceable. You will stop being unconscious. You will become whole. You will become rare. You will become unforgettable. Write it now in the comments. I choose awareness. And if you are ready to keep walking deeper, subscribe, because this is not the end. This is only the beginning.